Hey, what's up, guys? This is AJ, and in this lecture series, we are discussing Yojna, like the crux of the Yojna. Okay, so I'm going to tell you the what are the very important points from those Yojnas. Okay, so in this lecture series, previously we discussed energy security Yojna, but we were unable to complete this. So in this video, we are going to complete the remaining part of the energy security Yojna. Okay, so how we do, I'm going to dictate you some points. You are going to make notes out of those points, and you are going to revise those notes. Okay, it will be sufficient, more than sufficient for you. I will repeat the few points that I have I always mention that don't rely on only on these videos. Okay, first of all. Second of all is you have to read the all the preface and understand the preface, the writing style of that author, okay, who writes the preface in the Yojna magazine. Okay, so you just understand the way he introduces a particular topic, as well as the way he ends the particular topic, how he effectively he uses quotes, as well as how he maintains the flow of an article. Okay, so we need to learn these things from these types of people. Okay, so anytime you listen the anytime you read any article on newspaper, okay, or any magazine or anything, or any novel. Okay, at the time of any novel also, you should focus on these areas. Which areas? Like how the author introduces a topic, how author convinces you about his point of view, as well as how he ends the topic. Okay, so we need to analyze these things. Okay, when you will be master in this thing. Okay, at that time you will pass this exam. I can't assure you the rank, but you will be in the selected, okay, list. So that is the point that I am making here, that you need to understand the way people write a particular thing. Okay, so see again, one more point I would like to mention here. uh, Most of us are very good in speaking. Okay, at the time of speaking, or if we sit in a discussion, you will be very good to convince your point to other people. Okay, but this exam is not for those kind of people. This exam is in written form. Okay, so why written? Because you will be able to convince your point through your writing. Okay, so that's why the huge weightage is on only on the mains exam. Okay, so very few weightage is on interview as well as prelims. Okay, so that's why most of us, what we do throughout our day is we only read or speak, but we don't write. Okay, so this is why what happens, you will be very good, you will score very good marks in interview. Okay, if you are you will score very good marks in general knowledge, that is prelims, but you will fail miserably in mains. Why? Because you never practiced. Okay, this is a logical thing. There is no rocket science here. Okay, so what we need to do, we have to speak less, we have to read less, but we have to write more. Okay, so but the important things that are necessary to read, you need to read. Wherever you need to speak, you need to speak, but most of the time in your preparation, what you need to do is focus on writing. Okay, if you focus on writing, and you get to know how to introduce a topic, how to end a particular topic, how to give them convince your point of view, you will definitely score very good marks in this exam, and it will be a child's play for you to score good marks in this exam. Okay, so now without delay we will start our preparation, our dictation. Next point was regulating race to renewables. That was the chapter in that Yojna. Okay, so what this author states, the race among nations to raise their respective renewable portfolios. Obviously, everybody is concerned with the energy security. Every nation is concerned. Every nation has some problems. Okay, so they need to fulfill their energy requirements, and for that there are so many policies by so many nations. Okay, there is jumbling of policies. Okay, so we need to also participate in this race. Everybody is in the race to acquire more and more number of energy sources. Okay, so we need to also participate in this race. Next point is global investment in 2004. uh, okay, so let me tell you. So what is happening, if you see the graph of the investment in the renewable energy sector, okay, overall in the world, okay, not only in India but of the world. If you see the graph, that how much money is in getting invested in the renewable sector, you will find out that from 2004 to 2020, 2011, okay, there was a rapid growth in the investment in the renewable energy sector. Okay, but after 2012, what happened? The investment in the renewable energy sector reduced. Why these things happened? First thing was, developed countries were not interested in investing in the renewable energy sector. Okay, so for that I will give you one example, that is of USA. Okay, so now USA removed itself from the Paris Agreement. Why? Because they don't want to invest more in a renewable energy sector. Okay, so that is why the investment in the renewable energy sector throughout world is getting reduced. Second is technologies become less costly. Again, why to invest more money if technology is getting cheaper, okay, day by day. Okay, so what is the next point that this Yojna states us is that 15% gap is there. Okay, what is this gap of? So if you compare the investment done by the developed countries in the renewable energy sector with the investment done by the developing countries in the energy sector, you will find out that developing countries are lagging behind by 15% only. Only 50%, 15% of gap is there. Only 15%. Okay, so what it states, what we can imply from it is that more developing countries are taking more responsibility, or taking advantage of the renewable sector more than the developed countries. Okay, renewable purchases obligation is key policy to create demand for renewable energy. Okay, so why? See, now what happens, most of the time not many people are interested in buying the renewable energy sources. Why? Because they have some problems, like there is efficiency problem, there is cost as a problem. Okay, so what is the power output will be there. Okay, so they have this concern, that's why they are not buying these equipments. Okay, so solar cooker is not many people buys the solar cooker. If you see in your home also, you will not be having a solar cooker. Okay, so why? To boost this demand. Okay, so now we need to boost this demand, we need to sell more solar cookers. So what to do? Make renewable purchase obligation. Okay, why? What it states is that, make it compulsory. Okay, to for in a general public, make it compulsory to at least have one solar cooker in their home. Okay, we can make it such a law, but that is not the current scenario. Okay, but the Yojna is giving us this point. Again, give the incentives, give the subsidies. At the same time, if you give more subsidies, then WTO comes in picture. It states us that we cannot give so much subsidy to the renewable sector. Okay, so there was a domestic content requirement case was happened with the USA, that we lost, okay, in WTO. So same things happens. We as a UPSC aspirant, we need to consider the other aspects of the particular thing also. Okay, but the author of the Yojna, he doesn't concern with, he is not preparing for UPSC, so he states directly that we need to make it obligation, we need to give more subsidies. Okay, he doesn't think what will be the other consequences of those events. Okay, uh, another point is the Yojna makes is that financial institutions remains reluctant. Not many financial institutions are okay, so I will give you one example and it will be clear for you. If you as a person wants to start a startup, okay, and you have developed a new technology through which you can produce a high number of energy output for the same source. Okay, of any renewable source, like that is sun. Okay, so like if you developed a new solar cooker, okay, which is very efficient, which is very easy to use. Okay, so now you go to the bank and you ask them that they should fund your project, but they are reluctant. Why? Because they think that if we invest so much money in that solar cooker that you have designed, they think that not many people are going to buy that, because of the market reality, that is current scenario. Okay, so we need to change the attitude of the financial institutions. Why? Because unless and until you okay, so now what is the scenario? Next scenario is that if you get funding, okay, and your technology is so revolutionary is that many people are going to definitely going to buy your product. Okay, so you are very confirm with this point, but unless and until you get the money in the first place, you are this scenario of the market. What is the current scenario of market? That not many people are interested in buying the renewable energy sources. It is not going to change. Okay, and to change the scenario, you need to introduce your own product. But to introduce your own product, the bank is reluctant to give you funding. So this is the current scenario. This is what happening. This is this evil cycle is going on. Okay, so to change this, we need to change the attitude of the financial institutions. Okay, there is a lack of transparency and also is a issue. Again, what is happening? How much funding government is giving? How many people are getting actually benefited? There is a problem. If you go in a rural area, what will happen? They put a street lights, solar street lights. Okay, but most of the time, what people do, they take out the bulbs from that solar lamps and use those bulbs in their homes. Okay, instead of using solar bulbs, the streets are again in the darkness. Why? Because people removed the bulbs, so there is no transparency. Regulation needs to be become specialist. Okay, again, who is the regulator of the renewable energy sector? Okay, not many people know about this, right? So how much power this regulator has? Okay, what it can do, what it cannot do. Okay, we need to look into this aspect. Next point is what? uh, okay, so what is the fact is given by the author is that world's 17.5 percent of population lives in India. Okay, 1/5 of the population of the world is living in India, expected to become 1.6 billion with okay, so this is a very revolutionary facts. Okay, so you must be not knowing these points, that's why I'm making it. Okay, so uh, our India's population is is expected to become 1.6 billion. Okay, in near future. At that time, what will happen? Uh, our population density will be 500 people per square kilometer. Okay, at that time, when the population will be 1.6 billion, at that time population density will be 500 people per square kilometer. 500 people per square kilometer. But at the same time, what will be the China's population density? Can you imagine that? Okay, you will be very surprised if I say that China's population density will be 50 people per square kilometer. How much? 50. Okay, so this is very dangerous for us. Okay, so now what is happening? So per square kilometer we need to supply the 500 to 500 supply the energy demands of the 500 people. Okay, so it is very difficult job. Okay, India's electricity capacity is 223.344 gigawatt. Now, what is China's capacity? 1000 gigawatt. Okay, and what is renewable energy target of India? 175 gigawatt. Okay, that too in 2022. Okay, what is China's energy target? Can you imagine China's renewable energy target? It is 600 gigawatt. Okay, by 2020. Okay, how much we are achieving? 175 gigawatts by 2022. How much China is achieving? 600 gigawatts by 2020. Okay, so see, where is China and where is India? uh, Again, there is acute shortage of coal in India, as we discussed earlier in previous video, that our exploitation, how much we extract the coal, 21 million metric tons per year. Okay, how much China is extracting? China is extracting like in billion metric tons. So that is the difference. India produces 550 million tons per annum. Okay, how much China produces? China produces 4 billion tons per annum. How much? 4 billion tons. Okay. So that 21, I think that 21 million metric ton is per month requirement. Okay. I'm not sure. And most of the time these things happen in Yojna, that one author gives one fact that is contradictory to the other author's facts. Okay. So, but you get the idea that China is way ahead of us. Okay. That is the point. Again, what is the main energy source in India? Again, coal and thorium. We have large deposits of thorium. Okay, but what is the problem with thorium is that we can with the current technology we cannot use thorium as a fuel. Okay, for that also there is research going on, but the Yojna states us that okay, to implement the to make this reality, like a reactor with thorium as a fuel, okay, we will take at least 30 years. 30 years, that is the guess done by this author. We have 286 billion tons of coal reserve, 41 billion tons of lignite. Okay, so we discussed these points earlier also. Crude oil reserves is 757 million tons. Okay, natural gas is 1241 billion cubic meter. Okay, India's available uranium can only fuel 10,000 megawatt pressurized heavy water reactors. Okay, so what is happening, like with India's available uranium, how much electricity you can produce? 10,000 megawatt. Okay, that is very low. Consumption is scenario, what is happening, they have given the industry wise sector wise consumption of the energy. Okay, so how much industry sector consumes? Out of total energy in India, industry sector consumes 45%. Domestic sector consumes 21%. Agriculture consumes 18%. Focus on this. Agriculture consumes 18%. Commercial consumes 9%, and other consumes 5%. Okay, so what is why I'm ask you to focus on agriculture consumes only 18% of the energy that is produced in India. Why? Because how much population is involved in agriculture as a employment, getting employment? 56%. Okay, almost 56% in India are employed in agriculture. Okay, how much agriculture sector is consuming? 18%. Okay, so what is happening now? What is the agriculture sector's contribution to the GDP of India? 13%. Okay, so you see the pattern in here is that there is a less consumption by the agriculture sector, so the less production is there. Okay, so naturally the less consumption is associated with less production. Okay, so there is something fishy. Can you sense that? Okay, so we need to point out this point that even if we are employing like 56% of the India's population in the agriculture sector, the contribution of the agriculture sector is very poor, that is 13%. At the same time, the agricultural sector is consuming only 18%. There might be some miscalculations because of the illegal consumption by the agriculture sector of the energy, as well as the many subsidies given by the to the agriculture subsidy sector. Okay. So there might be miscalculations, but at the same time you need to highlight this point that their energy consumption must be high, but it is not such a case. So what is the coal tariff? For per kilowatt hour you need to pay like 4 rupees in India. But what is the price of the solar? That is renewable energy, that is 7 rupees per kilowatt per hour. Okay, so this is again this is just this fact just highlights the one thing, that is solar energy, that is renewable energy, is still uh, you know higher, still pricey compared with the coal tariff. Okay, so lower cost of the solar electricity we need to make. How to make it? Then we need to find out the new materials, as well as we need to do innovations. Okay, development and deployment of adequate and efficient storage systems, obviously. Development of a grid technology in far-flung and remote areas, again. Okay, replace grid connected or diesel operated purpose props by solar for irrigation purpose, again. What the Yojna gives us one point, that instead of using the electric pump for the agriculture sector, we need to give them a renewable energy pumps. Okay, so if the pump is operating on a solar, okay, so what will happen? It will obviously going to work like going to consume less energy, as well as it will be easy for the what the end user, that is farmer. Okay, why? Because it will not, he doesn't have to pay any monthly basis fee. Okay, so he just has to pay one time fees. Okay, then for the this solar pump will be for lifetime. Okay, sorry for the noise. Extremely sorry for the noise. But that is the thing. uh, Solar pumps are not durable compared to the fuel pumps. Again, this is again one problem, as I mentioned in the previous point, that we need to give them a solar pump. At the same time, what is happening? Solar pumps are not durable compared with the fuel pumps. Subsidized solar pumps we need to give them. Again, why to give subsidy? Because okay, so if you ask any layman that okay, will he buy for 10,000 rupees a solar pump, whereas he can buy 5,000 rupees electricity pump, which is more efficient as well as cheaply, less going to going going to work effectively, as well as is less costly is in compare with the solar pump. He will not buy, obviously you will also not buy. So we need to reduce the prices of the solar pumps in comparison with the electric pumps. So how to reduce it? Then again, this burden must be lifted by the government. Okay, we need to reduce this. Next, give them subsidy for that purpose. Next point is wait a minute. So there are various dimensions to assess energy sector. Okay, so these dimensions are given. What are the dimensions? Demand dimension is there, supply dimension is there, social dimension is there, environmental dimension is there, and economic dimension is there. Okay, about 40 crores Indians lack to access electricity. Okay, this is a huge statement. How many people don't have energy in India, electricity in India? 40%, that is 40 crore. 80 crore lack clean cooking fuel. How many people lack clean cooking fuel? 80 crore. What is the population of India? Around 130 crores. Okay, so Indian rural enterprise, agricultural and non-agriculture, use little modern technology. Again, the micro enterprises in India use very little modern technology. You must have seen the scene where okay, so what is the word? Okay, so hammer making is there. Okay, so people make in rural area, you must have seen people are making hammers. How they make hammers? There is no industrial level technology. Okay, there is one bhatti. On that bhatti they heat up the iron, and they beat up the iron so that it will take the shape of a hammer. Okay, so how they heat up this iron? They use coal. Okay, again this has so many adverse effects on the environment also. Okay, so this coal becomes a black carbon, sits on a Himalayan peninsula, and then it melts the ice. Then what happens? Ice get melts, river gets flooded, people die, there is a disaster happens in India. So these are the events happening just because why? The agriculture, the micro enterprises are not using modern technology. Okay. So as per the 2011 census, 800 million people continue to cook using solid fuel. Okay, what is solid fuel? Solid fuel means wood, coal, okay, or anything that you put inside that particular bhatti. Okay, so this is nothing but the solid fuel. So how many people in India use solid fuel? 800 million people. How many? 800 million. 80 crores. WHO stated that in India over a million died premature death due to the exposure to household pollution. This is a very serious fact. Okay, so you must be sensitive in these matters. Okay, see what is happening. People are dying premature death. Why? Because we are using solid fuel. Okay, how? So I told you in next the previous point that there might be disaster due to the pollution spread by this solid fuel. There might be, the solid fuel directly goes in the respiratory systems of the people. Okay, so they make them their immunity weaken. Okay, so they make their immunity weak. These things make their immunity weak. Okay. Again, one statement that I have read somewhere is that if a domestic housewife, okay, in a rural area, if she sits near the what we can say, near the चूल्हा को क्या बोलते हैं अभी इसको. Hmm, okay, so if she uses solid fuel for 1 hour, okay, while cooking, what will happen? It is equivalent to smoking 400 cigarettes in 1 hour. Okay, so this much smokes goes inside her lungs. How much smoke is equivalent to the 400 cigarettes smoked in 1 hour? That amount of smoke goes inside the lungs of that woman. So why she will not die premature death? It will be surprising if she doesn't die. So how many people are dying premature death in India? 1 million people every year. 1 million people. And who's publishing this report? WHO. Okay, so it is authenticity of this WHO is too much. We cannot question this report. Okay, so we need to be very serious about this energy security. Okay, so in the name of energy security, people are dying. We need to control this. Decentralized distributed generation. Okay, so that is not necessary. This is again one report. This report is given by the IPCC. Okay, this report is in from the 2014. Okay, so what it states, this report talks about one fact. What is the fact? Like if the global temperature increased by 1%, okay, 1 degree Celsius, okay, if the global temperature increases by 1 degree Celsius, it is going to cost India 1.7% of its GDP. How much? 1.7% of its GDP. What is the GDP of India? $2.1 trillion. Okay, so 1.7% of this $2.1 trillion is what we are going to lose only if, what is the reason? If the global temperature increases by 1%. Okay, so these are the very serious facts. Okay, we need to focus on this energy security. We need to have a proper method. This energy security must be sustainable, long lasting. Okay, Brundtland Commission's report, definition of sustainability, we have discussed this earlier in earlier video. We need to follow that. We need to as well as learn from Japan. Okay, so Japan energy security policies, we need to adapt them. We need to promote and use solar energy, renewable energy, wind energy, hydro, what it can say, wave energy. Okay, so these kind of things we need to do. At the same time, we need to see the health aspect. Okay, how this energy is affecting our environment, how this energy is affecting our human health. Okay, so all these aspects are necessary while we discuss or as well as we write answers in your mains examination. Okay, so don't just relate energy security to only the satisfying the needs of the industry as well as agriculture sector or any human being. Okay, we need to see it holistic view. There should be a holistic view. Okay, so they have given one final example is there, that bioethanol and biodiesels. Okay, so if we use bioethanol and biodiesel, we can reduce almost like 11% of our oil demand. Okay, just by using bioethanol and biodiesel, we can reduce oil demand by 11%. Okay. So, so as Shaktiman says, what Shaktiman says, choti choti magar moti bati. So same thing is happening. What is happening? That what is the very small fact they have given, that if the temperature of the world rises by 1 degree Celsius, what is the major effect of that? We are losing 1.7% of our GDP. At the same time, if we use bioethanol, biodiesel, what will happen? We will reduce our oil import by 11%. The same amount of money that we used to buy that oil, we can use it for different causes. Okay. How many people are not having soil cooking gas in their home? 80 crores. How many people don't have energy in the electricity in their home? 40 crores. Okay. So these facts are very serious. We need to learn from it. We need to be sensible in solving these questions, and we need to be very, now we cannot waste in solving these types of questions. Our time, right? So again, one more thing. Okay, so there is one more fact. You can use it, then use it. Rural wages increase by 20% per year. Okay, so there is one solid good thing is happening, that rural wages are getting increased by 20% per annum. Okay, so that is a good thing, but at the same time we need to compare it with the growth in or inflation. Okay, how much the inflation rate is, what is the real salary, real rate of their increment. Okay, so we need to find out that. uh, okay, so again, last point, and then we will finish this. Economic growth and distribution or social development need to go hand in hand. If you want to learn the meaning of this statement, okay, so I will suggest you to see the debate between Bhagwati and Amartya Sen. Okay,